Good morning, and thanks for coming over to this session. And since this is the first session of the morning, I want to start by first thanking the Workshop Day Gold sponsor, Trendiction. So thank you, Trendiction, for sponsoring this Workshop Day. This is the first session, and this session is on big data. And what I'm going to do before I hand over to the experienced panelists is I'm going to share with you the idea behind this session and what are we trying to achieve in this session. I will also urge all of you to ask a lot of questions and help us make this session interactive. When we were thinking about this session, okay, my name is Aseem Sood. I'm from Impact Research and Measurement from India. And when we were thinking about this session, we asked people what are the challenges that they're facing today. This was a very, very small group. And one of the things that came out was that everybody is trying to make sense of big data. And what we thought was that since we have a lot of people in the audience who are either doing something with big data or planning to do something with big data, can we try and see what are the challenges people have faced and how they have overcome those challenges with respect to big data. Before I dive into more details about the session, I want to introduce the panelists here. We have Oscar Muniz Garcia from Havas. We have Christoph Falstedt from Trendiction and Carlos Gutierrez from Accesso. So thank you. Okay, so big data. If we look at all the communication that is out there for big data, and most of this communication typically is from firms which are selling IT services or IT solutions. And this is nothing new. I'm sure you would have seen this earlier. Everybody talks about volume, velocity, and variety. And what we therefore find is that we as a measurement industry have similar challenges as what everybody else is talking about. We also want to make sure that all the tweets that are out there, we are able to make sense of those tweets, and these tweets tend to be a very, very large number. We also know that when we do not pick up a negative instance for our client in time, it becomes an issue for us. If we do not analyze a set of negative tweets for our clients, it tends to become an issue for us. So velocity is a problem. And variety, for us, everything is raw text. We hardly get metadata readily available for the social media and the big data world out there. So we don't have any very different challenges. Our challenges tend to be the same as what people in the other businesses are facing when they're trying to look at big data. But when you look at the communication that is out there, what it makes you believe that the answer lies only in technology. We don't know whether it's all about technology. Can we just spend all our money on technology and get this right solution for managing this big data opportunity? In fact, let me ask you here, how many people here are already utilizing this big data opportunity, are already playing with social media to offer services to clients? All right, so less than what I had expected, but good. So we have some people here who may be looking at this as an opportunity in the future. So that'll be good. So a lot of you who are already doing this, when you dived into big data, would you like to share what are the things that you spent time and money on preparing before you dived into this big data opportunity? Anybody would like to share? I can pass over the mic from here. Anybody who's been in big data space for more than 2 years? Great. Okay. So only if you'd want to. Would you want to tell us what was it that you prepared to dive into benefiting from social media and big data? How did you prepare?
So we were working with large 2005 when social media didn't really exist as a subject. It was just blogs. It was before Facebook and before Twitter, and the first social media crisis, as it's now known, Hell occurred while we were working with the client, and that alerted us to the fact that the media wasn't just about mainstream media anymore. It was going to be about more than that. So we went back and started looking at, first of all, how on earth are we going to get content that's meaningful and relevant, and we discovered loads of interesting things about that, and then once you've got it, how on earth do you make any kind of sense of it? And that's been an ongoing journey, and I'm Richard Bagnall, and I chair the AMEC Social Media Measurement Group, and I'll be talking about that in my session this afternoon. So if you want to know about that journey, come and ask us. Come later.
All right. So, but my question is more about capability. Did you spend time and money in technology? Did you spend time and money in...
Very frustratingly, I came back to England and I said to my team of developers, we need to spend time and money developing a way of scraping the web and getting all of this content. And I put our resource onto doing that. And the guys came back and said, look, we can do this, but we can't do it well enough. The storage requirements, the processor requirements are going to be too much. Instead of pushing ahead and basically inventing Radian 6 before Radian 6 and making myself many hundreds of millions of dollars, I agreed with them and said they didn't have to do it. So we then looked around for partners to get the content, and we worked with a number of the different providers that have now become very well known to get the content.
All right. So actually what I was trying to drive was IT services companies make us believe that if we just buy the technology, all our problems are going to go away. We'll be able to benefit from the social media opportunity. But is it just about that? What about our salespeople? What about our client expectations? Do we need to retrain the way our client servicing people are delivering services to clients, the way they're interacting with them? Do we need a new way of analyzing? With big data, you can never have 100% of the data all the time. So do we change your mindset? Because we were working with a mindset wherein 5 missed articles that we did not analyze meant that the client is going to be upset. How do we now set clients' expectations in an age wherein we will never have 100% of the data? Can we continue to hire the same profiles? So I think I want to do something in big data, and I can take the best technology from this large IT company. But do I need new set of people? Do I need new capabilities on the people front to be able to benefit from this opportunity? Or should we just put all our money into technology? So this is what we're trying to do now in this session today. And for the panelists, now that we've seen that there are few people in the audience who are already into big data, leveraging big data for their business, and we have a lot of people who would want to know what do we prepare. So with that, I'll invite you to tell us from your experience, what are the things that a company needs to do? So what are the 3 things that a company needs to do if they want to benefit from this opportunity? Are functions other than IT more important? And technology, is it the only answer? So with that, I would like to invite Carlos. Please come. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Asim. First, I'd like to thank AMEC for inviting me to this workshop. Today I'm going to speak about three main topics. Okay. Well, my name is Carlos Gutierrez. I'm CTO of Accesso Group. Okay. And today I'm going to sorry. The agenda. Sorry, I go back to the agenda here. Okay, first I give a brief overview of what has been our experience in implementing our big data platforms with our big data solution. Secondly, I'll explain how this big data implementation is helping us to transform our business analysis process. Okay, what are the new roles that we have empowered in our company, and where are the key practices and management tools that we're putting to work. And finally, I review some learned lessons and humbly provide some recommendations that I think we would take into account now if we would embark in a big data project. Okay, so, sorry. Along this presentation, I'd like to focus on three main key ideas. Big data means new business requirements. With big data, all of the potential information out there, structured, semi-structured, and unstructured, can be captured, can be processed, and can be analyzed. The key is to find the right business problems to be solved with big data. It's not just an IT matter, but it really is to have clear where are the real business problems that you have to address with it. The good news is that with big data, the potential business questions are unlimited. So you don't have to you don't need to have a predefined set of questions to be addressed. And here change the analysis paradigm, in which really you move from a well-defined structured process to a more observing and discovery and exploration process, right? Also, with big data, enables and empowers new roles. With big data, involves an evolution of traditional BI roles, business intelligence roles, such as that of the data scientist, but also is empowering roles from other disciplines, such as product development, when it comes to develop data-driven products on the big data project or the big data platform, or UX professionals, which now have to learn how to define interactive analysis visualizations to help the business analyst to work with those raw, huge volumes of data. Finally, big data, as defined in some occasions in the literature as the new oil, offers a new set real-time analytics capabilities, and the key is that companies learn how to adapt and how to integrate their business processes to really get the most value out of all that information. Okay? So these are the three main ideas that I'd like you to take away after this presentation. Okay. Entering the first point of the agenda, that is our experience implementing our big data platform Accesso. I don't know what happened with the these were the key requirements we had at the outset of the project. Basically, we wanted to have a real-time multimedia information system which is capable of storing and analyzing all the contents that we crawl from different or we receive from different data providers. It has to be multimedia in the sense that in the same repository we had to be able to store traditional press or tweets, okay? And we had to be able to analyze all that information from the same source of data. It has to be capable, obviously, to process large historical information, allowing us to apply new algorithms in terms of predictions and patterns and trends identification. It also, and it's a specificity of Accesso in this case, that we work mainly with text-based pieces of information. We needed to have low latency access to those huge volumes of data, okay? And we wanted to be a centralized sponge in which we apply all our text mining and data mining algorithms. And it obviously has to be robust, reliable, and above all, it has to be scalable. We want it to be horizontally scalable, and highly integrable with external data sources and metadata enrichment services. This is more or less an overview of what was the main milestones of the project. I focus just on 3 points, okay, because it's not just to point out what were the main difference from a traditional information system deployment. First, I would focus that the key is to analyze in the beginning of the effort what is the query profiles and the type of profiles that you want to analyze in your big data platform. This is the key, I think, to really focus your IT architecture and how it will impact in your enterprise architecture as well. Secondly, and due to the immature and continuous evolution of the underlying technologies of big data, we have to carry out an evaluation of the different technologies to see which of them which could meet those business requirements that we had on at the outset of the project. So we had to do a strong effort to evaluate different technologies and compare them to see if they really could fulfill those requirements. And finally, to have in place a blueprint that I speak a bit later on, that is the best communicative tool that we had in Accesso to understand from all the business areas, IT area, what is the roadmap of deployment of the big data platform in our business processes and products. The rest is basically the same as a traditional implementation information system. Okay, this is a high-level architecture of the solution. Don't panic, okay? I'll stay here just 1 minute, okay? Just let me show you what are the main, from a point of view, what are the main subsystems that address those requirements, okay? On the left side, you can see that there is a harvesting subsystem that is a collection of distributed agents capable of harvesting and integrating with external data providers, okay? There is a key component here, that is the enterprise service bus, which allows us to have a very flexible mechanisms to integrate with external data sources. So once these integration components process the information coming along to the big data, first we apply customized workflow engines per type of information that comes to the big data. So we are capable of applying different algorithms, text mining algorithms or data mining algorithms to the incoming content depending on its nature. For instance, we don't apply the same text mining algorithms to tweets than to traditional press, for instance, okay? So this is a customizable workflow engine that allows to have that flexibility. In the center of the slide, I will focus just in the middle size, that is the Hadoop, that is the centerpiece or the foundation of the big data IT platforms around the world. Is a project that was developed by Yahoo. And we are using a non-SQL, that is a non-SQL database called HBase of the Hadoop framework, which provides that flexibility to adapt our database schema to the difference and variety of data source that we have to integrate our big data with, okay? On top of it is a real-time search and indexing system that we developed based on the project open source project from Zoe of LinkedIn and of the reference search library engine Lucene. And on the right side are all the big data analytics tools that we are developing. We have a traditional BI solution, but also we are developing different visual analysis tools to help us to solve and to address different business problems, okay? From graph-based analytics visual tools to very customer tailor-made visual analytic applications. So here the point is to have a flexible API to integrate those applications with your big data. Otherwise, it will be a bit difficult to extract the content that you have there and the analytics that you have developed in it. Okay, this is the good news, that my CEO was very happy when he saw this. In fact, he doubled my salary after after the implementation, so the license cost can be done. License cost is 0 in IT, okay? This is just some figures of what we have now in the big data. We have just about 580 million pieces of information. Traditional press is 27, online news, we are above 257 million. And social media, we are in 300 million. Audiovisual content, that we also crawl audiovisual content is upcoming, and we hope to have it in the next 2 months. And finally, we have information from media sources for more than 20.8 million sources. Okay, so moving now how we transform our analysis process thanks to implementing this big data solution, okay? As I said before, with big data, you're not constrained by predefined sets of question or queries. What happened in traditional BI, the universe of potential questions you could ask to your database was very limited in comparison to big data, mainly because you were dealing with well-structured data and with a predefined set of queries that comes from usually information coming from your operational or transactional systems. So you didn't, this changed a lot with big data because now the big data analytics query space is undefined in advance, and it allowed you to define new variables on the fly during the analysis process. This is somehow happens in real life, that you usually don't know, a lot of times you don't know what you're looking for, even being difficult to know what is the, what question you should ask the system to find the right solution. So this is, uncertainty is very well addressed by big data solutions. And the key is that finding the right question is the key. Or otherwise, your big data platforms and all the services that you will deploy in your companies won't really create the value that you expect of it. These are some hints that I listened to at the last Straight Up Big Data conference that took place in London last October. Just let me highlight the ideal big data questions will be answered with action-enabled answers. I mean, those action-enabled answers, those are those that will close the gap between analytics, decisions, and business action. Okay. Also, it's important to say that those questions should be capable of emerging new questions, new interesting questions with which fit the analysis process, and iteratively proceed in the analysis process to find the right solution. Here there's a good quote from John Takei, that is a very renowned statistician from Massachusetts, and he's professor at Duke University. He said that an approximate answer to the right problem is worth a great deal more than a perfect answer to an approximate problem. Okay, so here's what happens in big data. What happened with big data and what we are doing now in Accesso, that we are moving from traditional rear view analysis with descriptive, inquisitive statistics that we were able to answer to questions as what happened during the last month and why it happened. We are moving now, thanks to this big data implementation, to a world of modeling, exploration, simulation, prediction, and discovery of analytics. Okay. Before we had big data, the problem was that you have to create samples of the information, and you have to perform some assumptions, right? Now, with data, you can embed in your analytics, and you can analyze in your analytics all of the individuals, and you can embed in your analytics as well all the complex interrelationships that those individuals or events or pieces of information have in the real world. So the variety of the information is absolutely different from what you had traditionally in your BI data warehouses. With respect to new roles that we have to empower, we have to hire in Accesso to really get the most out of this big data platform, was the data scientist. Undoubtedly, this is the key now with the big data era. No? Now, the data scientist is said by the Harvard Business Review is said to be the sexiest job of the 21st century. So if you have a son, or you have a daughter, or you have a relative who is not very sure what to do, probably be a data scientist will be a good option. In Accesso, really having this role, empowering this role in our analysis process, has allowed us to really apply advanced analytics in our big data. Basically, the data scientists not only have to have the strong skills in statistics, which is something we all suppose, but above all, and I think that the key difference is that he has to be aware of where the business problems. He has to speak with the final customer of the analytics, because he proactively can provide solutions that otherwise just the business analyst may not see beforehand. And I think that the right data scientist will not, as I said in the slide, will not address just business problems, but will be able to pick where are the right problems and where are the most important problems to the business to be solved with the big data. Also, there is another role, because the data artisans or visual engineers. Traditionally, we all have web designers or product designers in a company with big data now, and the data artisans are supposed to have a double objective. First, they have to make sense of the big data analytics that we create in our big data platforms, and make them consumable to the final customer, which is another gap not easy to fulfill. But also they have to be able to define and to have a large toolbox of visual metaphors, and has to have a good grasp of an understanding of the analysis process, depending on the problem to be solved, to define visual analysis tools that supports the analysis process that you want to deploy in your company. So they don't only have to be able to create beautiful pictures of the data, but also have to be involved in and understand how has to be the analysis process to define or to create the most suitable analysis tools, okay, visual analysis tools. And last, the business analyst, right? Now the business analyst have to perform a change of his traditional mindset, because now the business analyst is responsible for opening his mind to a new set of potential questions that he can perform to the big data. So he has to be better aware of what are all the data sources that are out there that he could use to solve the problems at hand. He also has to understand that now the analysis is not something very structured, but that he may be engaged in an iterative process to, from all the raw data in the big platform, stored in the big data platform, can be extract insights and actionable insights that are of value to their customers. So now it's not just performing some queries, but they have to dynamically interact with the big data platform from this, by using these visual analysis tools to really get the most value out of it, okay? And finally, the key is that they're able to tell a story behind the data that they have in their platform. And this is something very important as well, because he will be able to align the analytics that he obtains from the big data with, for instance, the strategy of his customer, and contextualize that analytics.
Carlos, you have 5 more minutes.
Yeah, okay. Well, this is the traditional BI analytic process that we had in place in Accesso, and this is how we have changed, okay? We have much more information, and we have the data scientist modeling and realizing different kinds of text mining and data mining activities on that big data. Then we have extra large data compared to what we have up to now, and with a diversity of different types and of different nature. And he also applies different types of cleansing and normalization methods to really try to have good quality data in the big data platform. And then we have the empowered version of the business analyst, jointly with the data artisan and with the data scientist, to really come up with important and business value analytics. So that finally he can, the business analyst can be able to tell a story to the final customer or to the business unit, okay, who is going to consume the analytics. Yeah.
That you've taken a client, what would an example be of now that you have this capability of being able to do something different for that client, where you took them from looking at something just in a more traditional way to integrating the big data story?
Yeah, for instance, we're capable of, thanks to what we have in the big data, we're capable of analyzing the last 500 news press that he has published in his press room, and tell him what is the best time and what is the topics that propagate better on the web for his release notes, news releases, sorry, right? This is something that we couldn't do before. And he's capable of explaining to the customer that if you want to focus on this communication strategy, and from what we're seeing in all this content that we have in our big data, you're not reaching to the right audience, and you have to change your policy because people are really distributing the release news that are not important to you. That's something that we could explain to our customers now that we couldn't do before. Okay, so just I go through the lessons learned that we had, that we have extracted from our experience. First, among the five main findings that the survey conducted from IBM in 2012 on 1,145 professionals from IT and non-IT departments. One of the main conclusions was that in order to really have a comprehensive and viable big data strategy in the companies, it was paramount to have a solid and quantifiable business case. Okay, this is really from where all starts out. Otherwise, you might be trying to solve problems with big data, and maybe it's not the best way to do it. So you have to be very clear on what is the business problem and what is the business case, what is the expected return of investment that you expect, and see then it really has to be addressed with big data, because otherwise you might not get the expected return. Okay, so having this practical task and doing this at the first of the project is very important for the companies. Also, you have to create the data inventory assets. Here, the keys now is that you have to be very aware of where all the potential data sources and metadata enrichment services that you can use to really enrich all the content that you have in your metadata and that you can use to improve your analytics. Now, having an observatory or a team which is all the time seeing what is out there and seeing what are the potential data sources that you can use to improve the quality of your analytics is paramount. And also, it's very important that you have a business case related to each of those data sources to really prioritize on a business basis what the resources are best to be integrated and in what order in your big data. There is also a creation consumption analytics gap. Okay, you have all the information in the big data. You do a lot of acrobatics with your analytics, but now the key is how you are going to be really capable of earning money with it. No? And that last mile is really important, no? Because otherwise you will have a lot of information, but you won't get too much in return. And this is a common obstacle in adapting big data platforms. And there are different ways to close this gap. I mentioned, for instance, the visual analysis tools, right? You can also institutionalize well-structured and making decision processes, so that fact-based decision-making processes, so that all the processes in your company really take into account analytics from your big data platform, and also by creating a focused and united team that called the Last Mile Group by Dr. Fayyad, who is one of the gurus of big data in the community, who are just focused on really running that last mile, getting those analytics and really earning money with them, putting that into context, explaining to the customer why are they going to improve their strategy with those analytics. Okay, and it should be a mixed team and just focus on this last step, a mix of data scientists, of business analysts, and data artisans. And also having a blueprint in place. Okay, this is the key, because a blueprint accomplishes the vision and the strategy and requirements of your big data. And it is the best and most effective communication tool that you can share within your organizations, because you always will know what is the schedule in which you will deploy your big data solutions and how it will impact in your different business processes, and what will be the return of applying that big data in those business processes, and to guarantee also that there is an alignment between business and IT. So having this blueprint of how you're going to deploy, or how you're going, and the roadmap of how are you going to deploy to a big data solution in your organizations is also a very pragmatical approach to guarantee the success of the project. Okay, and finally, big data is not an IT project. Okay, this is I'm the CTO of Accesso, but I can guarantee you that if you have already tried to implement an ERP or CRM in your companies, you know what I'm speaking about. So just implementing or just focusing on big data as if it is an IT project is the first problem you might have in your organizations, okay? So you have to guarantee that it is a synchronized transformation of processes, tools, and people, and that they all three march in a step during the project implementation. You also have to guarantee that there is a sponsorship from your executive committees, from one or more business executives, and that they are the product owners of the big data project. Otherwise the project is done. So finally, I'm sorry for extending my presentation. This is one of the main key questions of the workshop, right? Apart from that slide that was a bit IT heavy in IT. Sorry. This is the answer, right? It's not an IT problem, right? It's a business problem. Okay. Thank you very much.
So it's very interesting that Carlos talked about this being a business problem rather than an IT problem. Do you all believe that the communication in the market, which is coming from various IT services companies, tends to suggest that this is an IT problem? In fact, I come from India, and in India, we have a lot of IT services companies. And if we had a choice, it would only be an IT problem. And we'll solve it. All right. Any questions that you have for Carlos? Okay, let me start with one. Carlos, you talked about new roles. You talked about data scientist. You talked about business analyst 2.0. Do you think it means that we need to change the way we hire people? Does it mean that we need to change the way we train people? Did you do that in your organization?
Yeah.
Can you use the mic, please?
Hi. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, definitely. In fact, I think that the key was to train or empower the skills of some of the people we had in the organizations to really adapt to this new scenario or paradigm. Also, hiding the necessary skills when I speak about data scientists to really be able to analyze those large volumes of data and provide us with predictive and prescriptive analytics that we couldn't have done before. So I think that having a well-described, a complete job description of the new skills that you have to incorporate in your organization is key to really get the results that you expect from the big data.
Did it cost a lot of money? You were changing so many things in different functions. You changed the way HR was hiring. You changed the profiles.
What we did was to depends on the role, okay. But in some cases, we didn't find or we didn't see that we have any resource that could be trained to really fulfill the position. So we hired it from new. So from like for instance, the data scientist. But in the case, for instance, for the visual analysis, we really trained our team to understand this new, to understand what are the new visual metaphors,
All right.
and to understand that now it's not just presenting the data and making them consumable, but also they have to work with business analysts to really understand what is the business analysis process.
Great. Any more questions? Okay. You have a question? Can we have the mic over there?
So what did you spend, of all the data you got in, was there any data that was not, you thought, wow, this is going to be amazing, I'm going to get so much out of it, and you actually haven't gotten as much as you thought, or the opposite, where you've gotten a lot more value from it for clients than you were expecting?
Can you repeat? Because I'm not sure if
As you were bringing in all this data and this different big data, were there any surprises in the sense on the positive side where you said, wow, we weren't really expecting to get that much additional insight or incremental value to pass on to a client, but we did, and in the opposite where you brought in this data and you thought, wow, this is going to help us really drive a lot of insight, and it didn't work out as much as you thought, and it was a surprise on the other side?
we have a lot of bad surprises, to be honest, but also we have some success. I would say that one of the main success that we had, apart from this I mentioned before, is that now we are, in some cases, we've been able to, thanks that we have cross-media information in our repository, I mean traditional press, audiovisual content, and online content, we're being capable of closing the gap between off and online information. So we are capable of telling a story about how the message that you send from traditional press or from the online newsroom, how did it propagate throughout all the media, and yesterday was in the third page of a press newspaper. So this is something that before we couldn't do because we have silos of information in the company, but managing to centralize all that information in just one point helped us to come up with traceability of how an information moved from the online world to the offline world. And we find some really very interesting insights, analytics from that.
Great, thank you. We have another question here.
Sorry, actually, more of a point on from Newspaper Direct. My name is Neil. I was just wondering if the questioners could identify themselves when they're asking a question.
All right, so request to all, when you ask a question, please tell us your name and the company that you're representing. It'll be nice. Thank you. All right. We had another question here. You wanted to ask a question? Sorry. Okay, so thank you, Carlos. I really like this presentation because if you notice all the things that he's talked about client requirements, he's talked about new roles, business analyst 2.0, data scientist. He's talked about creation consumption gap. He's talked about the last mile group, which is going to present the results to the client. And if you look at all these areas, they cannot be automated. They cannot be driven by technology. You need people, skilled people to be able to do that. So thank you very much for this insightful presentation. We'll now move on to our second presentation. I'll invite Oscar to come onto the stage. Thank you. I'll go inside.
Good morning. I'm Oscar Muñoz. I'm project manager at Havas Media. And I want to talk to you about the big data technologies from a marketing technology perspective, which are the challenges and which are the applications, the custom applications that we are developing for media agencies regarding big data analysis. So I have structured the presentation, taking into account the three key things that for us a company must focus on when implementing and analyzing big data with market analysis purposes. So for us, the first one is technology. So applications must deal with a huge volume of heterogeneous data and at the same time must apply heavyweight data analysis processes. To get an idea of the data sources that we are handling, we have different kind of data sources, ranging from social media to digital display advertising, offline advertising, as for example, TV ratings, customer data, for example, sales data, and so on. So these data sources are very heterogeneous. With respect to structure, the data sources range from structured data sources, such as offline advertising, as, for example, TV ratings, to highly unstructured data sources, for example, social media data sources that are mostly based on text. Regarding the format that this data source contains, those data sources are very heterogeneous. Even for the same type of data source, they are highly diverse. For example, in social media, it's not the same the format that Twitter provides to us than the format that Facebook provides to us. We have to join and normalize these formats and metadata. With respect to size, the data sources run from data of several terabytes to small data, such as data extracted from offline audience. So, and also with respect to granularity, the data sources range from data very granular data, very fine-grained data, such as online display advertising, which consists on every click and every impression that a customer action in the web, to data aggregated at the level of months. So a big challenge is to integrate this data to create add-value applications that take into account the different aspects of these data sources. So in summary, the data sources are characterized by data heterogeneity. We handle from structured to unstructured formats. The formats are not standardized, or not all the formats are standardized. Also, we work with different levels of aggregation, from fine-grained posts and events on the web to time series aggregated and different time periods. For example, every second, hourly, daily, and so on. So we have to integrate with the big data sources, data that is not big, but is very useful. And the main challenge in this stage is data integrations. So even for the same kind of data, we have to integrate in social media, Twitter with Facebook data, with blog data that have different formats. And in online display advertising, we have to integrate performance metrics extracted from Google and also from affiliate networks. So we can develop different kind of applications integrating these data sources. The first one is brand reputation monitoring applications that basically consist on analyzing social media data and obtaining insights from this social media data. The other one is market research applications, which typically combine different cases of data sources. So for example, social media data for performing opinion studies, but also consumer data, for example, sales data. Also, we have another kind of applications that are social CRM applications that are typical used by community manager for dealing with consumers that are generate opinions about the brands. And the first group of applications for measure, the first group of applications are those for measuring the performance and communication. So our clients, our customers want to know which is the performance of the advertising campaigns and want to take measures of how these advertising campaigns behave. So we have to integrate the data of the investment of advertising campaign with data extracted from, for example, from social media or from site analytics. And this is a quite important application for us. And finally, there is a less explored group of applications in which we are working that is analyzing the data for supporting the media planning and buying. Okay, how can we can get insights from, for example, social TV data sources for taking decisions about placing advertisement in different channels. So once we have built the technology size, the other thing that for us is important and we must focus is in the alignment between technology and and specific consumer needs. So how can we move from the facts that we extract from the data sources, for example, from social media, and take decisions based on these facts? So in our opinion, deliverables must go beyond classic metrics that we extract from social media monitoring. We have to go a step further and prepare a richer reporting for our customers. So the state of the art here are brand reputation monitoring. These tools try to obtain brand reputation key performance indicator and monitor its evolution over time. Typically, the market is plenty of tools that perform this task, and typically the indicators are brand popularity, which is the volume of mentions to a brand in social media, brand valuation, that is the sentiment of the consumer that the consumer express about the brand when they talk about the brand, and brand attributes that for us are the topics mentioned when talking about the brands. For example, quality, price, and so on. So we consider that these metrics are not enough for giving a complete report to our customers. For example, customers demand which is the status of the market by segment of consumers. So social media data sources do not provide an explicit segmentation of consumers, do not provide the consumers that are the consumers distributed by gender or the consumers distributed by place of residence, of the consumer distributed by a set of socio-demographic attributes that must be taken into account for reporting the status of a market. No? So social media analysis application must go a step beyond and characterize the audience in terms of the socio-demographic segmentation. In addition, these applications that do not tell us in a direct way how can we focus on our CRM in social media to the appropriate targets. So a community manager can monitor a brand, can take all the opinions in the timeline that are mentioning the brand, but this timeline is huge. There are many opinions for certain brands that are produced by Second, and the community manager cannot handle, cannot deal with such a huge timeline. So there is no way with this application of managing and handling this social CRM. Also, the most important question for us is which is the performance of advertising campaign on paid media. So how can the money that our customer invest on placing advertising in the different channels, in online channels or on TV or on radio and so on, how this money how can we measure the return on investment of this investment by analyzing the data. So now I want to present examples of several innovative applications that we are developing that address these questions. So the first application is to monitor social media in order to segment the consumers and to obtain in which step of decisions are the consumers with respect to the acquisition of a brand. No? So we have implemented a way of measuring the stage of the consumers in the consumer decision journey, and we classify the opinions of the consumers through their opinions in 4 different states. No? That is awareness. Awareness is, the first stage is awareness. It consists in the consumers that are aware of a product and have an initial consideration set of brands. The second one is evaluation. That is the stage where the consumers start to compare the attributes of different brands and make opinions and extract the brands that they want to acquire. The third one is the purchase, that is the stage when the consumer selects a brand and declares its decision on social media or on the point of sale with, for example, Facebook and so on. And the last one is the post-purchase experience stage, where the consumer talks about their experience with the brands and give us information on the experience of the consumers. So we combine. Okay, so we combine these studies with a socio-demographic segmentation of gender, age, and place of residence of the consumer. Here I have several visualizations from these applications. The first one shows the distribution of the state of purchase decision by city. The second one is the distribution by different segments, for example, by gender, location, sentiment about the brand, and so on. And the third one is the evolution over time of the purchase intention of the consumers. So another application is social CRM applications. The challenge here is to handle thousands of brand opinions in social media. Community managers, as I told before, cannot handle every social media user. So our approach is dealing with communities, making clusters of consumers and focusing communication on the relevant consumers on these clusters. The consumers more influence, the opinion leaders, and so on. For doing so, we apply big graph analysis techniques. We have thousands of brand consumers and millions of relationships between these consumers. For measuring the performance of communication, we have developed an application that try to measure the influence of paid media over earned media, that is over the influence of advertising campaigns over word of mouth media, over social media. And for doing so, we generate time series for buzz and for advertising pressure. We detect events, for example, peaks in the behavior of the time series, and we try to explain these events by finding the trending topics at this moment, and also we try to correlate the time series of buzz with the time series of advertising pressure, trying to find correlations and measuring the influence on advertisement campaigns over social media. So the third key aspect for us is the human resources and methodology. In our opinion, it's not only about technology, but also about skills, profiles, and the methodology applied. So I see the social media application development process as a data mining process, in which some of the stages can be automatized and other stages cannot be automatized. The first stage, that is business understanding, cannot be automatized by an application. So in this stage, business objectives and the application success criteria must be defined by the organization strategies and by the consumers. And this will conform the data application requirements. The second stage is data understanding that cannot be automatized also. So this stage must be performed by domain expert and data analyst profiles, and consists in becoming familiar with the data, identifying data quality problems and solutions, and also assess that the data is valid for achieving business objectives, performing some ad hoc experiments, and so on. The third stage is data preparation. This can be automated to some extent. An example of the task for being performed in this stage is removing spam from the content gathered, filter content according to its language, filter the content according to its content. For example, if we are measuring the orange brand, we have to filter those mentions to the fruit or to other contexts that not represent the context of the orange brand. And this stage requires profiles developers with big data warehousing skills and artificial intelligence skills, for example, in the case of social media processing, natural language processing skills. So the next stage is modeling. Modeling can be automatized. This stage can be executed with the help of application developer with expertise in data mining and artificial intelligence. And the tools typically used for these stages are data mining frameworks, including machine learning classifier, clustering techniques, statistical analysis languages, such as R, and so on. The next stage is evaluation. in my opinion, this stage cannot be automatized, and this is the stage where data scientists play an important role, that is assessing the correctness of the models obtained, validating, for example, that a correlation found imply a causality, assessing that the sample and the experiment setting is correct and the sample is representative, and so on. And the last stage, very important, is deployment. This stage cannot be automatized also. In this stage, knowledge obtained must be translated into a final report that should be aligned with business requirements and prepared for customers. And there is consultancy work of transforming the data observations to recommendations, to decision support, and so on. So that's all. Same, if you have any question?
All right, great. Thank you. So I'm going to request Oscar to stay here so that when he answers questions, people are able to see him as well.
Okay.
Great. Any questions for him? I have a few. All right, let me start while you think. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. Just wanted to share and agree with your assessment of what
Your
can
name?
be automatized and what cannot be. Sorry, I'm Neil Parker from Newspaper Direct. And but I was wondering if you have any comments about the direction in the next 10 years or so, whether those assessments might change over that time interval.
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
Yes, I was just wondering, you gave us some assessments of what processes could and could not be automatized. I was wondering if you had any ideas about the direction in which that's changing, whether there might be some changes over the next 5, 10, 20 years in that.
So the question is if I have a perspective or a 10 years perspective, or will be the next requirements, or for
What can be automated and what can't be automated, and what can be automated in the future?
okay.
So what things can be automated?
Thank you.
Okay. Of course, business understanding, unless we have a very intelligent artificial intelligence, cannot be automatized. Maybe the part of evaluations can be performed with some automatism, and also the deployment stage, if we come up with several standard visualizations, with several patterns for visualizing different kinds of data and different kinds of insights and so on, and we have a complete library of patterns, maybe we can automatize the deployment stage, but not completely. So I think that for the next 10 years, there will be human intervention in almost of all the stages. So that's why we consider that it's not all about technology. Companies must invest in the appropriate skills and also in aligning the tools with the business.
We have a question here.
Jenny Chapman, Gorkana, again. So I was really fascinated and great. Thank you very much for the presentation and great graphics and visualizations. I had a question. I mean, it's fascinating that you are able to look at the social data from a gender and regional perspective. Since everyone has talked about that, how are you actually able to do that?
Okay, so let me go to the slide. So let's go attribute by attribute. For example, the gender attribute is not declared in almost of the social networks, maybe in Facebook, but not in the rest. So we try to apply techniques that the most basic techniques is finding names in a specific list of names and trying to see if the names correspond to a male or to a female. And also we use natural language processing techniques in the languages that, for example, use determinants that concord in gender with the name and so on. So we apply this kind of techniques. Yeah, yeah. Not in all the language. For example, in Spanish we can apply this technique, but in English, no, because the gender is not reflected in the determinants and in the adjectives, and in Spanish, yes. But we try to apply techniques for guessing this attribute, and of course it has a precision and a recall and so on. It's not a perfect, but we have achieved precision of 95% in our experiments, so we can take this attribute as a reference. So with respect to location, as you know, not all the tweets are geolocated. So we try to perform natural language processing techniques. For example, to see, for example, customers that are used to talk about a place or used to share news about a particular places are more likely to be from these places. So we combine this information with the geolocated tweets when they are present, and also we check in the user metadata. User metadata used to put their location in a free fashion, but most of the time this location can be effective. Of course, many people put locations that not are that are not real world locations, as Neverland and so on. But okay, again, we have a precision in detecting the location. And with respect to age, it's an attribute that we are working on obtaining it. We have not achieved a satisfactory precision, but we apply machine learning classifiers. We have a classification of the contents and sites that are visited by a kind of audience. So we take, for example, the attributes, the socio-demographic attributes from Alexa or from Comscore corresponding to several sites, and we try to find the age of the people that share content from these sites by attending to these classifications, to these existing classifications. So we are no we don't have a complete precision, but we have been obtaining satisfactory precision measures. So.
Great,
Okay.
thank you. Since we're talking about preparation, and I'm putting on my hat as the CEO of a company which wants to get into this business, you talked about HR as being a very important thing to focus on. When you did this, did you actually increase the strength of your HR team? What did you change in the HR function to be ready to do this for you?
So
The HR function, you talked about HR being so important. And in the HR function, did you make any changes to the HR capability of your firm as well? Did you hire more people in HR? Did you?
So with respect to statistical skills and so on, media measuring companies have these profiles. They have been working since a long time ago in measuring performance and communication from other data sources. So we can use these data scientists with.
So did you have to strengthen your internal teams to do that?
Yeah.
Did you hire more people in HR?
So we are hiring people with strengths in natural language processing because of the nature of social media, and also people that come from the business intelligence field because they have experience in solving similar problems. So.
Right. So we had a few.
So it's not a question of hiring new profiles, but on recycling the profiles that you currently have.
All right. Thank you. And we had a few hands go up when I asked about social media usage in your companies. When you got into this, did you strengthen your other functions like HR? Anybody wants to share anything? Did anybody strengthen the HR team? Did anybody strengthen the training team to build this capability?
John Kroll from Scentia. So we didn't strengthen HR, but probably the main thing that we did was purchase the capability. We didn't have the capability in-house, so one of the main reasons for buying a company called Brandtology, which had lots of Asian unstructured data experience, was actually buying the skills. So sometimes you look at clients, sometimes you look at revenue, sometimes you look at skills. These acquisitions were all around skills because we didn't have them in the group, and it would have taken way too long to actually acquire those skills.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you, Oscar. And let's give him an applause. And it seems that people in the other room are having more fun. All right, so this is my first time as...
Serious stuff. This is serious. They're not, it's a hoax.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's a hoax.
All right, all right. So we have confirmation that it's a hoax, so we'll continue. All right. So now I'm going to invite Christoph, and thank you.
Yes, hello everybody. My name is Christoph Vollstedt. I'm the founder of Talkwalker. It's a product of Trendiction. So what I want to share is some best practices. What are the challenges when applying big data into a company, and how can a company as well benefit from this opportunity? Perhaps some facts about who we are, just to position this as well. We are a company, we are specialized in big data and social media monitoring, big data crawling since 2009. So basically what we're doing is really recrawling the whole web, so everything, so blogs, forums, online news, aggregating Twitter, Facebook, and all the different social networks in order to store this, everything, into one index that we then provide to our customers. So we are into different fields called social media monitoring, so really for monitoring, being alerted. We're in social analytics, for diving through the data and getting insights out of the data. We're in social search, so for looking back in order to detect trends, and of course report for all of those three. Yes, privately held company with headquarters in Luxembourg. We are a very international team speaking 8 languages. Now we have 9 languages internally, which is of course a very important point, because in order to understand the different, mainly as well in Europe, in order to understand French, German, Polish on the other hand, or Swedish, it is a very complex problem if you compare this by just, for example, English. At the moment we have more than 500 servers, so collecting all of this data and really that handle all of those thousands of terabytes of data. We're working very close with media measurement and media monitoring companies by providing them data or really the technology to get insights out of the data. So really providing we can call it like a big data analytics platform to media measurement companies. Yes, and in total we are monitoring more than 100 million websites in 187 languages and 247 countries, but this is growing day by day. I want to share some insights about how we see big data, because I think big data is a big buzzword and everybody has a different meaning on what big data means. This is how we see big data. So we decompose this into 4 different parts. So you have on the top left, you have online big data. So everything that is available online. So everything that is available on the traditional web. So this is websites, online news, portals, different search engines, can be some more media types. On the right, you have social big data. So everything that is related to social media, the different social networks, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, blogs, message boards. And then, on the lower end, you have the big chunk of enterprise big data. So this means everything that is related to analytics regarding your own website, email analytics, databases, documents, really big information systems that are relying in the company. And on the left, private big data, so from all of your employees, from people that are outside here, really to what is mobile data, private mobile data, private Facebook messages, private stuff that is happening on their own workstation in the company, for instance. And we were thinking on how this is related to media measurement, or how this is related to media monitoring as well. So what we see and how we see this is really that we have online, we have social, we combine this through a layer called media monitoring and media measurement in order to bring it to the social enterprise data. The enterprise big data. So enterprise big data then, of course, into different departments, PR, marketing, sales for lead generation, customer support for more effective customer support, market research in order to detect trends, legal and compliance in order to detect issues, and of course to manage those as well. And so what are the insights and what are the three main challenges we see at customers of us? The first question is how to create value out of big data. So first of all, in order to do this, first of all, we have to understand and we have to clarify what big data means. And I think this is something that is very custom to every company. So there it is really important to define what are the objectives, what is the framework on where big data should be applied. The second question is, do I need to adapt my business model as a media measurement company? So hearing all buzzwords as social media monitoring, social analytics, big data, and here I just want to share some insights on what does this mean for the business model of media measurement companies we're working with. And a third point, does big data have an impact on staff recruiting and processes? So being an analyst or being a big data analyst, is there a difference or is there none? I want to start with the first one. So how to create value out of big data? Fast searching for finding relevant data. So big data meaning having millions or billions of terabytes of data that are being centralized, and then it is very important to effectively search through this data in order to find relevant data. If you don't find relevant data in these masses, it does not make sense to invest in big data. Search-based analytics for playing with the data. So as you see, the guy here who is really juggling with, it is very important as well this to be applied on the data. So to juggle with the data in order to get more insights. Alternative visualizations for diving deeper. So having an effective search, having effective analytics based on this search, it's important as well to visualize and to play with visualizations in order to get more out of this data. And this is something we hear very often. We have to be better than real time. Then we're going into an area called predictive. And as well, predictive, big buzzword, but what does prediction mean? Prediction has to be applied on the different business questions that the customer have. So what is important there is to have a very flexible technology that can be adapted to the different business needs that the customer have. Mapping on company questions and data. In order to create value out of big data, it is very, very important to understand what is the customer doing, what are issues, first of all, identify issues that exist for this customer. Afterwards, see if these issues can be solved, if these issues can be reduced, and then, of course, take all of this insight and map it on a technology that can support you in taking these decisions. Effective filters, so this is as well on the technology point, effective filters for reducing a data set. So having millions of data, reducing a data set to just those that are relevant, and afterwards dive deeper through this with analytics, with visualizations in order to get insights out of it. This is what we have seen, is that a strong technology platform is key for getting customer insights out of big data, and really with the help of effective filtering techniques. Effective filtering techniques can start on keyword-based filtering through the data, can be semantics technologies that should be applied in order to get concepts out of the data, but can be as well humans that need to analyze the data because the machine cannot understand everything. And search-based analytics, or really the technology of search-based analytics, is helping a lot for juggling with the data. The second point was, do I need to adapt my business model? Media monitoring and measurement is needed in multiple departments. What we have seen is that many media measurement and media monitoring companies are working with PR departments. But how we see the things is that the results of what media measurement companies produce can be used across the whole company in various departments. This could be marketing, where it is more of benchmarking against competition, detecting trends related to the brand reputation, for instance. Could be in market research as well, to detect trends on where does the company has to invest for the future by analyzing, for instance, the last year of data in order to detect some insights into this. This could be, of course, as well in social CRM, just for selecting the key relevant posts that where the company has to reply. This could be, for instance, as well in the product development for really pushing innovation forward by detecting what are people talking about my product, and bringing this together in the product department. Big data technology, we see it really as an important support for analysts in daily work. So technology on one side can solve problems, analysts on the other hand can map this to the customer needs, and of course the combination of all of those brings really value then afterwards to the customer. So different opportunities we have seen as well in the different media measurement companies: do-it-yourself analytics, engagement, so really that the media measurement company is helping and supporting companies in how to engage, where to engage, which content to create, as they have all the content and as they have all the knowledge about this content. And something that is not always clear is to have a clear positioning. So as a media measurement company, are we focusing on technology? Are we focusing on services? Or are we focusing on both? And then comes the big question, okay, why are we better than technology providers? And there, everybody has to think really, what are my core values and how am I creating value for my customers, and then position their own company on the market. Another important step is the sales process. So is this sales process different when selling to a PR department than selling to a marketing department? Is the process different when selling to a market research department, a different product, so a product for doing trend research, than a media resonance and a report, for instance? And I think there it is very important as well that the people in the company know, first of all, what is the PR department doing. I think this is pretty clear. But as well on the other side, how are marketeers working? How are product people thinking? How are people in customer support thinking? And what are the workflows that are behind? And then afterwards, map onto these workflows. And what we have seen is an attractive new revenue channel is really to use big data analytics, so to bring together do-it-yourself IT into the different departments and use really the skills that media measurement companies have in order to do so. Because media measurement companies have the skills of big data since years. It was just not known under the name big data. And to bring this as well to the different departments with a solid technology. The third point, does big data have an impact on staff, recruiting, and operational? I think a point I already mentioned, so really it is important to understand the needs of the different departments. So what are marketers doing? What is customer support doing? And it's very important as well that the different employees in the company understand this as well in order to offer the best possible services to those guys. Another point we have seen is that good marketing is required for effective selling to marketing department. We have seen media measurement companies not promoting themselves very actively, for instance, online, whereas marketers are living a lot online, so it is very important as well to adapt to their, let's say, requirements. We have seen some stupid things where marketers are watching at the website, if you have a beautiful graph, it's fine. Regarding the stuff, it is as well the same point, rethinking on core values. So where are we strong at? Is it the data we're aggregating? Is it the tool we provide? Is it analytics we provide to our customers? Is it measuring that we are strong in? Is it the services that are related to this measuring? Or is it the consulting in the end? Or is it everything? But what we have seen is basically that these are really different niche where you always have players that are better if you concentrate on everything than if you concentrate on everything. As well, use technology to optimize own processes. So having the analysts, the internal analysts and the internal staff, we have seen that technology can help a lot to optimize the own processes. And as well, and in the end, integrate this technology into the customer business processes. So it is a very common project we're working on today is where big corporations are using our technology for different departments. So really, we have a PR department using it for media monitoring as well as a crisis tool. We have marketing using the big data for benchmarking against the competition. We have market research department that has different needs but accessing the same data just to detect trends out of the data. And as well on the other side, social CRM. So where you have a layer just between where people are validating, okay, this has to go to customer support, this does not have to go to customer support. And related to stuff, I think that's as well a big challenge of finding talented developers in big data and search. As this is now a hype, of course, many of those are specializing themselves in these fields, but it's only it's only if you have many years of experience in this field that you can be very strong. And what we have seen, we are now a team of 15 developers just focusing on collecting data, crawling data, and providing a tool for analyzing data. And we find the challenges as well on our side as we are searching for similar profiles as Google does. And of course, it is very tough as well to find those profiles because those people as well, they want to work in a very challenging environment where they have challenges every day. And so the effort for selling to multiple departments and finding talents should not be underestimated. I think this is a very important point. And good industry and technology partners can be a great leverage as well there for media measurement companies.
You have 5 minutes.
Yeah, these are just some applications we have seen in the different departments. So in PR, online reputation management, crisis, I think we don't have to go into detail there. In marketing for campaign measurement, influencer management and community management. In sales for generating leads through Twitter, for instance, and then providing those to the different salespeople for follow-up. Customer support, market research, and legal and compliance as well, tracking changes in law and putting this together with the reputation of the company, for instance. And bring this all together for taking strategic decisions, which I think is very important, not just delivering a data stream or report or analytics to the different departments, but to be sure that its data is as well used by the management afterwards in order to take decisions. And of course, there it is across the whole company, the strategy across the whole company, so in communication until the risk department. So what are some points we would advise, or some best practices we can share before investing in big data technology? Is really to, first of all, explore the market. So is there technology on the market fulfilling my requirements? And I think if there's a technology on the market already fulfilling requirements, it makes sense to have a closer look at this technology and see if this is not complementary to my actual business. What are our USPs versus pure technology platforms? Of course, this is as well very important because if you have a pure technology player just investing in data aggregation and big data analytics, it is very important as well for the media measurement company to have differentiation and to have USPs versus those guys. What role does technology play for our company and our customers? So do our customers want as well Do they need a technology? Do they want me to provide do they want me as a media measurement company to provide as well technology to them, or is this a different field? What type of employee profiles do I need, and can I find them? I think this is as well a key point. And just to finish up, an experience we have made as well is that technology projects with a duration of more than 6 months in a very innovative and fast-moving market are often already outdated the day where development is finished. As I was working for Accenture, I think I can say this, and it is really as well the case when we're talking to different actors. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And questions for Christoph, please.
Dear Christoph, thank you very much for interesting presentation. I would like to ask you about cooperation with marketing departments. For a lot of media measurement companies, is opportunity and perspective to cooperate with marketing departments than a real business. And that's why it is very interesting to ask you, how many projects your company have with marketing departments, and what kind of these projects? What do you sell for them? Thank you.
Yeah. So basically, we're working mainly through agencies and partners. We're normally not directly addressing end customers. But the different projects that exist in marketing departments are mostly brand related. So really getting insights about the brand. It is as well, we're working very close with media buying agencies who are using this for getting everything that is related to a brand over the past year, for instance, and for benchmarking. So for comparing their own brand with different with the competitors, or for getting insights out of the industry. So, for instance, we had a project where the customer was monitoring the word beer, and he just wanted to know, okay, over the past year, which brand was most related to the word, which beer manufacturer, beer producer was mostly mentioned related to the word beer, and these types of projects.
Hi, I'm Alejandro Moreno from Acceso Colombia. Can you tell us a real case example of a prediction you can make for your clients?
I did not get it.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Alejandro Moreno from Acceso Colombia. Can you tell us a real case of prediction you made for your clients with big data?
Yeah. So, for instance, in Germany, we're working together with one of the biggest political parties, but as well through an agency who is handling the customer. And there we provide a platform where at the moment they have about, I think, 200 million articles just in one search index, where they're diving through this data in order to see in which directions they have to orientate communication. Of course, they're benchmarking this against their competitive parties. So what they're doing is they're searching for topics as education, so really general stuff, education, transport, and those type of things, in order to detect trends and to see how the communication of the different other political partners are diversing. So this is a project, which is so the end customer, the political party, has really access to a whole search engine where they can dive through the data.
Great. Any more questions? All right. So thank you, Christoph. And so what we'll do now is we still have some time. We have about 5 minutes. And if any question comes to your mind, please feel free to ask any of the panelists here. Today we've had the opportunity to listen to 3 panelists who have approached the subject from different points of view. We've had a chief technology officer tell us that, tell me how many times did I use the word technology in the presentation vis-a-vis business. So thank you for that. We've also looked at how Oscar is looking at both earned as well as paid media, and they're using technology to, in a way, drive big data analysis. Oscar also clearly pointed out that yes, technology is a big component, and Christoph also shared some experience from a provider perspective. So I want to thank all of you for joining this session. You're very brave people. You know, 'cause we had David in the other room, and you came to this room, so thank you for that. And I must share with you that when I started discussing this session with the panelists, I realized I made some mistakes when I got into utilizing this big data opportunity. For me, the first thing I did was I called the chief technology officer and said, we need help. Come, help me. We need to start doing this. At no point initially did I ever think about involving the HR, the operations, the business development team. Once we had created a product which was very, very powerful, we realized we were struggling to sell it properly to clients because we never retrained our last mile. We never helped them understand the new challenges, the new questions that clients are going to ask. And once I started discussing with the panel members here, I realized had I done it that time, easily I would have got success faster. They talked about how the skill sets need to change. They talked about how the sales process per se needs to change, the last mile connection, and finally, yes, technology is definitely required. There is no doubt about it at all. If I look at the session, the most important thing that I take back from this session is it's not an IT problem, it's a business problem. And using people and technology, we need to solve it. Thank you very much. We still have time. I'm happy to take more questions for the panelists. So Barry, we've had a very good audience. We've done a very good job of finishing on time. Thank you, panel members. Thank you very much.